I was first called a chink when I was in first grade. I didn't know what it meant. I'm not sure the kid that called me that knew what it meant either. But he was taught that word and taught what the physical attributes were to associate that word to a person. I felt confused. That moment, brief as it was, became the first entry in what would become a lifelong catalog of moments when I was reminded that to some, I would always be seen as different. This month is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means for me in this episode. Welcome to The Human Thread, a space for those seeking something real in a world dominated by noise and algorithms. I'm Greg, and here we unravel the fabric of authentic connection through creativity, meaningful conversations, and reflections on the messy, beautiful human experience. Let's dive into the threads that bind us beyond likes and follows to meaning, art, and genuine dialogue. The small cuts. I was called a foreigner by an opponent on a soccer field when I was in fourth grade. I was not defined by my play on the field, but by the color of my hair and the shape of my eyes. I felt ashamed. My parents had signed me up for soccer because I told them all the kids at recess were playing, but that wasn't really true. It wasn't all the kids. It was all the kids I wanted to be friends with. I wore the same uniform as everyone else. I practiced the same drills. I high-fived my teammates after good plays. But one word from an opponent, foreigner, and suddenly I was an outsider again. That night, I remember looking in the mirror, still wearing my uniform, pulling at the corners of my eyes, wondering if there was a way to make them look less Asian. I was 9 years old. Fast forward to high school, I was asked, "Do you speak English?" by a U.S. Border Patrol officer when I was coming home from a school trip to Canada. While my classmates looked forward to going home, I wondered whether my country wanted me to call it home. I felt displaced. I remember the heat rising in my face as I replied in perfect English that yes, I was an American citizen. My friends looked uncomfortable. The Border Patrol agent barely acknowledged my response, waving us through. It was a small moment to him. To me, it was another reminder that my Americanness would always be questioned. The present tense of otherness. These aren't just childhood memories. They're ongoing experiences. Just last week, I was told by a customer service rep that my last name was not filled out. All I see is NG listed. Well, guess what? This is my name. I felt misunderstood. When I politely explained that my two-letter surname is indeed my complete last name, I got that familiar look, a mixture of embarrassment and disbelief. I've seen it countless times. It's the look that says, "That can't be right," while simultaneously saying, "I don't want to appear culturally insensitive." By the way, that's a great start. There's a special kind of exhaustion, though, that comes with these encounters. It's death by 1,000 paper cuts. Each one is minor. Why make such a big deal about it, people sometimes ask. But they accumulate, they build up, they form a constant background radiation of not quite belonging. The space between cultures. Growing up Asian American means living in the hyphen. You're never quite Asian enough for your older relatives who immigrated here, and visually, you're never quite American enough for some of your Caucasian neighbors and friends. Although, what truly is the look of an American these days anyway? And by the way, statistically, it's becoming more like people who look like me than them. But over the years, I've walked a tightrope between embracing and rejecting Asian stereotypes. It's a dance every Asian American knows too well. For example, one day at work, I had my PR firm change the phrase "chink in the armor" in a press release. The phrase was technically correct. It had nothing to do with ethnicity, but I had such a visceral reaction to seeing that word on paper, I couldn't let it stand. That single word took me right back to first grade, to that confusion, to that hurt. But Also, in the 90s, I leaned hard into stereotypes when I created my satire website featuring my alter ego, Chelvis the Chinese Elvis. I donned a sequined jumpsuit and pompadour while singing Shake, Rattle, and Egg Roll and Yellow Hawaii. People laughed. I wanted them to laugh. I laughed too. It felt powerful to own the stereotype and at the same time demonstrate how in real life I am nothing like those stereotypes. The difference between these two examples? Agency. It was my choice to play with these stereotypes, to reclaim them, to control the narrative. When others wield stereotypes against us, they're weapons. When we choose to engage with them, they can become tools for connection, humor, even healing. This month of May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. Here's what I've come to realize. The hyphen in Asian American isn't a gap to be bridged. It's not a barrier between two identities. It's a space of possibility. I am not half of two things. I am wholly something unique. The turning point came when I stopped seeing my difference as something to overcome and started seeing it as something to embrace. My perspective, shaped by straddling cultures, is valuable. My experience navigating between worlds has given me insights that others might not have. When I look at my family history, I see resilience. I see courage. That same blood runs in my veins. My name, Ing, may be short, but it carries generations of story. It's not incomplete. It's perfectly whole, just as I am. Thanks for joining me on this journey. If today's episode sparked curiosity or resonated with you, let's keep the conversation going on the Human Thread Substack. And until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the human threads that connect us.